Past 24 hours have been quite a theme. Reactions coming from different quarters on different issues, and of course, like Igbos would say, "Uchonya di anjo." When something happens to some persons, it's a great move and applause that would encourage better behavior among other people, other Nigerians. While some other persons will start to look at it from the sentimental, possibly ethnic prism, or would I say, state prism, and all of those reactions. If you know what I am talking about, I don't want to be very explicit about it. And of course, in the last 24 hours, we've had a replacement for the Ministry of Defense space. We have General Christopher Musa being fingered. We don't have that confirmed yet, but like I said, he's the person that the president has nominated. And of course, a lot of things happening. Yesterday also, there was another kidnap. 14 passengers in Imo State, 5 students from River State. Also, in the last 24 hours, the police spokesperson, David Hundeyin, gave some clarification on the state of the command given by the president to withdraw police officers attached to VIPs. And of course, yesterday when he was speaking on television, I was asking myself, there, Mr. Police spokesperson, you say political appointees can still have their police protectors attached to them, and then you withdraw protectors from police protection from private citizens. Fine and good. But who is in a better place to make a change? The politician. And how do you want the politician to really have it up his sleeves to do something ASAP when he still has his own police protection flanked all around him? Big question there. We didn't get an answer from him. But of course, a lot of other developments we get to look at on today's edition of the Polity. Good morning to you and welcome. I am Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Ebuka is here. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, and should I say happy Monica to everybody listening? Of course, if you look at our studio, we're in the new look, of course, Christmas-like, so you can get the feeling. So if you are going to watch us live on Facebook, of course, you're going to see that we're in the mood of Christmas already because the studio is radiating Okorosibite. So on that very note, of course, we welcome you to today's program. And like you pointed out, can I jump on one thing you said, because you made reference to the report on Vanguard newspaper suggesting that some persons were kidnapped in Imo State and also in River State.
River State, yes.
But the one in Imo State has been debunked because what we saw was an old video that was recycled. And some online media platforms jumped on it to report that some persons were kidnapped. The police was able to debunk that yesterday, even in saying that there was nothing like that happened. And they even asked people to, run check on the video that was circulated. They'll find out that it was an old video that was recirculated. Then talk about in Enugu State, where Governor of Enugu State, Peter Mba, presented a budget for 2026, 1.6 trillion naira. But what has been the highlight is not the figure, but what played out at the House of Assembly when he came to present the budget. Budget presentation is a serious business, but it was turned to a jamboree. The way it was turned into like a political campaign. People were hailing him. There was even a team song playing for him, and what have you not. And people are asking questions. We thought that budget presentation is a serious business. So how did we reduce it to this kind of jamboree? Then, over there at the National Assembly, it seems that more senators are confronting Senator Godswill Akpabio, who is the Senate President, based on what they feel that he's not handling well. Yesterday, it was Senator Goje who confronted him because when plenary started, Senate President was not in the Senate. In fact, it was his deputy who was presiding. But when he came in, he called Senate leader, called him by the side while plenary was ongoing and was whispering something to him. In fact, he was even caught some other persons, and Goje had to raise an order that what he was doing was unparliamentary, that it wasn't supposed to be happening while plenary was ongoing. But what I'm trying to find out is, does it mean that more senators are finding the leadership of Akpabio uncomplimentary? Are they becoming uncomfortable with the way he leads the Senate? Because if you check the last 3 weeks, we have had not less than 3 senators confronting him on the way he has carried himself as Senate President. So does it mean that his capacity to lead is being put to question? Then, in Edo State House of Assembly has summoned the member representing Ego constituency, Natasha Irobosa, who happens to be the wife of Two-Face Idibia. They are asking him to appear before the House to answer questions over alleged misconduct. They are saying that there was an online video showing her in a manner that brought about disrepute to the image of the House. So she should come before the Committee on Ethics to explain herself why she got herself involved in such thing. And on a final note, today happens to be the International Day of Persons with Disability, and I must tell you that it's quite an interesting day because world over everybody's actually commemorating this very day, because the day marks or the day was established by the United Nations in 1981 to raise awareness and increase understanding of disability issues and the commitment to ensuring dignity, rights, and well-being of people living with disability. Quite interesting one. December 3rd every year is being marked. Now, why am I so particular about this? I am because Anambra State is one of those states that have, taken the lead when it comes to trying to preserve the rights of persons living with disability. In Anambra now, Anambra has a law known as Anambra State Disability Right Law of 2018. And this very law made certain provisions or guarantees for the persons living with disabilities. But what I'm trying to ask question about now is, how far have we gone in implementing those provisions of this very law, or ensuring that people get to comply with the provision of this very law? As I speak to you now, this very law provided for the establishment of a disability commission that will ensure that these rights are well protected. If you look at some of the key highlights of this very law, you see that provisions are made in a way that we have to factor people living with disability in everything we do on a daily basis. But are we doing that? Take, for instance, the law provides for equality and non-discrimination. Now, the law prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in any area of life, whether it's on unemployment, access to service, social service, and what have you not. The law also provides for access to public buildings and facilities. This law is saying that PWDs, that they have the right to necessary facilities. Example, if you have your building, you must provide ramps for them to be able to move. You must put your building in a manner that they will be able to access it. Take, for instance, if somebody who uses wheelchair wants to access some buildings, they will not be able to access that. But they are saying you should provide ramps so that they'll be able to access it. It is there in the law, and so many other provisions that are out there in the law. So I don't know how are we going about to ensure that these things are comply with, or just we made effort. That was Ondo Biano to enact the law, and the law has been enacted, and it's just there for the shelf other than implementation.
Well, unfortunately, when you even look at government facilities, they seem not to even understand what they actually put in the law. Government that made the law, building facilities that do not comply with the law. It's unfortunate what it has become. Yesterday on the Cherry Box, I asked the people of Ego constituency, how far? Is your representative really representing you, or is she busy pleasing her husband? Unfortunately, when we talk about errant behavior representatives in different parts of the country, things like this are things that we have come to condole. It's honorable on paper, and in character, it's dishonorable. But it's unfortunate. It is what it is. Dr. Tony Olisambeki is here with us, is going to be doing justice to all of the matters on our desk this morning. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Chisom Chinet. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, in Anambra. Good morning, in Onitsha. Good morning, in Dosimo. Wherever you are listening to us from, it's always a pleasure to be here. Like we always say, we are in the sanctuary to perfect the truth. As professors of the truth, we owe it to everyone to do justice to different developments across the state, across the country. But we know very well we cannot do this alone, if not by the power of the God Almighty who has made everything possible. We always give him thanks for making it possible in our eyes. We say good morning to everyone, and we're back to do justice to some of these developments before us.
Absolutely. We're going to start by telling you what the front pages of the paper say. We're going to be starting with the Vanguard newspaper. We have the Vanguard here, the Punch, Daily Sun, and of course the Guardian. And we are starting with the Vanguard this morning. U.S. lawmakers disagree with FG on page 5. Alleged Christian genocide. U.S. lawmakers disagree with FG on page 5. Says steps taken so far by FG to deal with problem insufficient. Mark Ove Odigie Oyegu. Others want South people's support for ADC on page 12. Gunmen kidnapped 5 Rivers varsity students, 14 passengers in Imo. But like we clarified already, the Imo story is stale. It's something that happened in the past. And you trust people who want to, sensationalize things to dig up old stuff and make them look new. Police launch manhunt for abductors. Arrest killers of 5 policemen in Bauchi. Reps tell FG. That's on page 26. ADC, FG suffocating PDP. APC. FG suffocating PDP. Opposition. That's from Bode George. Mba presents a record 1.62 trillion naira 2026 budget of renewed momentum on page 11. On pages 8 and 9, Wike Fayoshe, 9 others get PDP expulsion certificates. The writer here, PDP wouldn't be silenced. Turaki declares as Damagum hands over. Fast track field development or step aside. FG warns IOCs on page 19.
Can I say that it seems PDP has joined the realm of content creators and social media influencers? Because I was asking myself, where did they get the idea of issuing
certificate of
expulsion to those people they have expelled from the party? I don't know who brought about the initiative and they ran with it. I'm just wondering. And the funny is that they sent it to the people through courier service. Quite interesting. Okay, so let's look at the Daily Sun newspaper. The banner headline here says insecurity, Nigeria facing perilous times. EU envoy. The story is on page 8. It has a rider. A recent development suggests Nigeria far from goalpost set by founding fathers. MPC is the one saying so. PDP at crossroads says to Raki, claims some persons want opposition party dead. And let me suggest to PDP, if they're at crossroads and they don't know how to cross the road, they should call the Federal Safety Corps. It can help them to cross the road. Then another headline here says constitutional review NAS to decide on state police, LG autonomy, gender bills, all that December 9-10. The story is on page 6 of the Sun newspaper. Then another headline says Body George alleges democratic violations, says Nigeria stands at crossroad. Page 27 of the Sun newspaper. Senate screens Musa Defense Minister nominee today. Northern Group faults call for Matawale's resignation. The story is on page 28. Tinubu ex-UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon others for Imo Economic Summit tomorrow. The story is on page 8. And the final headline we have on Sun newspaper says press freedom, IPI blacklist IGP, 2 governors honors DSSDG. The story is on page 28 of Daily Sun newspaper.
All right, then from the Daily Sun newspaper, let's go over to the Punch. And also, it's still the same talk on page 2 about U.S. lawmakers and Nigerian reps meeting. They've held fresh sessions over rising insecurity, and the writer here says U.S. Congress committee hold joint session. Nigerian reps to discuss rising insecurity. Tinubu meets service chiefs. Adeleke Shans Oshun PDP primary as Adebayo wins ticket on page 3. FG contractors launch fresh protest over 500 billion naira debt on page 24. UBA group ashes in Yeltide lights up Marina Lagos. Yeltide. Local flights break 300,000 naira mark on page 9. At this point, the common man is going to be asking, waiting concern Agbero with overload. Marital dispute. Edo Assembly summons to Baba's wife on page 4. Manpower shortfall may delay NSCDC's VIP protection rollout on page 2. Is the NSCDC trained, or officials of the NSCDC rather, trained for protection?
I learned there's a unit in the NSCDC that is trained for this kind of services.
Okay.
So, because I think within the NSCDC, they have about 63,000 personnel in total. But they said that among these very personnel, they have a unit that receives special training on providing protection to VIPs.
Okay. Finally, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, PDP crisis, Makinde block issues Wike others expulsion certificates on page 3.
Okay, over to the Ghana newspaper. The banner headline says a chaotic Utah travels loom as 15 airline face 65% capacity dip. The story is on page 6. And if you look at the airfare during the Utah, we have seen about 150% increase. For you to move from Abuja to Anambra State, they're going to pay about 300,000 or 360,000 by the time Utah approaches. That's quite astronomical. Then PDP dipping Spurge issues expulsion certificate to Wike, Fayoshe, Ayaun, others. The story is on page 6. And above the nameplate, Mba presents 1.62 trillion naira budget, lost Tinubu's economic policies. You can see that story on the front page of the Ghana newspaper. And the headline says, RAPS probes missing 30 billion naira NSIPA fund, demand resumption of program. The story is on page 3. Tinubu meets security chiefs, nominates ex-CDS Musa as defense minister. The story is on page 3. Contractors protest, disrupt ministry's activities over 760 billion naira debt. The story is on page, that should be page 16 of Garden newspaper. And these are the stories we have on the front page of the Garden this morning.
All right, then we're going to dive into the conversation proper at this point. And we're starting with a talk about the closed door meeting with the U.S. lawmakers and some representatives from Nigeria. And of course, I'm going to take this report from the Vanguard newspaper. U.S. lawmakers have sharply contradicted the Nigerian government's position on the ongoing massacres in the country, describing the violence as escalating, targeted, and overwhelmingly directed at Christians during a rare joint congressional briefing on Wednesday. The closed-door session, convened by the House of Appropriations Vice Chair Mario Diaz-Balart as part of a Trump-ordered investigation, examined recent killings and what Congress calls Abuja's deeply inadequate response. President Trump has asked lawmakers, led by Reps Riley Moore and Tom Cole, to compile a report on persecution of Nigerian Christians and has even floated the possibility of U.S. military action against Islamist groups responsible for the attack. At the briefing, Vicky Hartzell, chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, warned that religious freedom is under siege in Nigeria, citing mass abductions of school children and assaults on which radical Muslims kill entire Christian villages and burn churches. She said abuses were rampant and violent, claiming Christians are targeted at a 2.2 to 1 rate compared to Muslims. And of course, Tony, it is expected that with the things happening in the past few days, the report is not going to be anything other than this. Over the weekend, we had lots of other kidnaps. A church was raided, the pastor was taken, his wife and child were also taken. And so, first, did you expect anything different? Looking at the response, would I call it rate? Yes, the president asked that police officials from VIPs be withdrawn. Has that changed anything? Also, going by the fact that the figures have been quite contradictory. There is the EU report and other reports saying over 100,000 police officials are attached to VIPs in this country, and the police is saying about 11,560 something of them have been withdrawn. And so, looking at that ratio, adding 11,000 men on the field, 11,000 boots to the field, does that make any difference? Is the response so far impressive enough that one can say that Nigerian government has risen to the situation?
We are looking at measures that will be taken by the present administration, by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we've seen one of those measures to be the withdrawal of the police, as you mentioned. Before now, what was on many spaces was that we have over 100 of these policemen serving VIPs and at the same time political appointees, but we have not been able to make a clear distinction between VIP and political appointees, and many people seems to lump them together, and it keeps creating confusion. I was listening to the first spokesperson, Benjamin Hundeyin, where he was actually trying to make such distinction and bring clarity to the issue, but he made us understand that political appointees cannot be classified under the VIP category. That VIP are those in the business world, captains of industry, and then important personalities who may need police protection because of their work they do or because of the status they have in the society or the security risk around them. These are the VIPs. but political appointees are those who are serving the state. And for the fact they are serving the state is also required to give them necessary protection. I think that's just a misconception. But in any of these, unless they are telling us that the VIPs withdrawal maybe about 10,000 plus or 11,000 as we are told, but on the other side you have the political appointees, or those, not just appointees, those who are in government, members of the National Assembly, the ministers, that's the appointees at the state level and possibly at the federal level. These are political appointees, but they may not be classified as VIP in that sense because they are serving the public. So, having made this distinction, we have said many times that that measure is not enough. And I have always opined that states should have their place. And at the same time, the local governments and the communities should also have their own under the control of the states. I have said it many times, it's the only way to go for now because of the complex situation of the insecurity we found ourselves. Coming back to the issue of the briefing yesterday, or what happened between the U.S. lawmakers and Nigerian representatives. Yes, it was a joint section, or a section that was a joint briefing which was convened by the United States House Appropriations Committee led by Mario Diaz-Balart, who is the vice chair and also chairman of its National Security Subcommittee, with participation from members of the Appropriations, Foreign Affairs, and at the same time Financial Services Committee. The lawmakers invited the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, USCIRF, along with other security and human rights experts, to give evidence about what U.S. officials described as rising attacks, kidnappings, and targeted persecution of Christians in Nigeria. I'm aware that the objective of that very briefing is to compile testimony and data for a comprehensive report as directed by President Donald Trump on the killings and insecurity in Nigeria, and also to explore what measures the U.S. Congress might take to support protection for vulnerable religious communities. So we saw such briefing, but the meeting comes at a time when the high-level visit by a Nigerian delegation led by Madam Nuhu Ribadu, who is also the National Security Advisor, conveyed the country's willingness to engage bilateral security cooperations, including under a new U.S.-Nigerian joint working group, where Mr. President has made some nominations, and we've seen those names, which was established after talks in Washington. But from the U.S. perspective, this effort is framed not only as humanitarian, that's what they have been doing, protecting religious freedom, but also as part of broader counter-terrorism and security assistance strategy, which involves possible sanctions, intelligence sharing, and coordination against extremist groups operating in Nigeria. But I saw some calls made by some eminent Nigerians, and if you look at some of those calls, it was one of the calls that I have also espoused here on this show. We must disband Sharia law and possibly Hizbah police.
Let's look at the fact that it is quite important, because we cannot have a nation and call it one Nigeria. We have the constitution, and then there is a constitution, by a particular people hinged on their religious beliefs. While we have freedom of religion, we cannot possibly sanction something like that and keep allowing it to float. But the question at this point is, Tony, the implications, going by the fact that the root cause of so many of these things are yet to be addressed. So it's one thing for us to have the firefighter approach, more surveillance, more guns, more foot on the field. But there are things that are birthing these things. There are things that we are hinged on for this monster to be birthed and created in the first place. And the question is, these things are not even being addressed on this table yet. So do you think that all of these conversations with the US, the rep members, do you think they are missing one important point, which is the root cause of it all? Poverty and neglect of the locals up north.
There are a lot of root causes, there's no doubt, not just one. You've mentioned just one, which is poverty.
Neglect.
It's part of it. And then when you talk about
lack
neglect,
of development,
that's essentially surrounding poverty, because if there is no neglect, there will be no poverty. And if there is no development, or if there is development,
no neglect, there won't be poverty.
Of course, if there is development,
yeah.
So all these things surround the issue of poverty. I think we have it on one, ground that is one of the root causes. But you also have religious extremists.
Which Sharia removal is supposed to solve.
That's what I'm saying. If you look
but do you believe it's going to solve it?
He asked me, it will go a long way, because some of these extremists operate under such cover.
You don't fear an uprising that might even get worse?
The thing is, it is a statement that will be it's something that will be done in such a way that everybody will be on the round table. It's not something that will be done unilaterally, where there will be conversations over this. If we want to make Nigeria a secular state, we have to work towards that. The constitution that was handed over to Nigeria, or that was actually called a Nigerian constitution, has a number of loopholes, imbalances. In fact, our constitution created some of these problems. It's also one of the problems, because our constitution makes chapter 2 not justiciable. When you say that the primary responsibility of the government is security and welfare, that the state shall do this, but you also, in that section 6, subsection 6C, also admit that at no time any court should entertain anything under chapter 2 if those things are not fulfilled. So, on one hand, you are saying state shall do this. On one hand, you are saying state shall not be accountable when they fail to do that. It's one of the problems.
I'll be great.
But even if we know that our courts or judiciary has failed many times, but if we have got that, there we still have good number of good men and women who can also uphold such sanctity. That is one. And then you allow situation whereby, if you go to the constitution, I found you have two parallel laws governing criminality, where in fact I have such Muslim countries in the world, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Algeria, and some of these Muslim majority countries have not seen where Sharia law deals with the issue of criminalities in those states. Even when they have those laws, in fact, even when they have Sharia law, it's strictly on marriage, divorce, inheritance. Something that is customary in nature, not something criminal in nature. So, but here you have, in fact, you remember the Supreme Court ruling sometimes when some 12 states, you remember those 12 states that declared Sharia law, and some people found it so repulsive, and they approached the Supreme Court for interpretation, but the Supreme Court ruled in their favor. Look at these states. If you look at Zamfara, state that operates Sharia law, finding security to be so much in that very state. Look at Kano, look at Sokoto, look at Castilla, look at Bauchi, Borno, Jigawa, Kebbi, Yobe, even Kaduna, Niger, and Gombe. These are 12 states.
Maybe it's about time we also start to look at some key components of this Sharia law. And disbanding it is quite a move in the right direction. But like I asked again, Tony, do you not fear that there's going to be an uprising?
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be conversational. Conversational in the sense that the northern leaders, just as we have done in the area of open grazing, before now, they couldn't believe that we have to do away with open grazing. It has cost a lot.
But we have had little or no implementation.
And now, of course, we have no implementation, but they have also seen the need for expunging of open grazing, and also there is also need for them. You cannot have a country and have another country inside a country. That's the way I'm seeing it.
Okay.
Because if you look at the provisions of section 275 and also provisions of section 277, it creates confusion, it creates ambiguity, where you have a situation where somebody who probably steals, there is they call it amputation. If it's an adultery, it's called zina, but it is stoning. Then if it is consumption of alcohol, it is flogging. And you have a criminal law. And you also have this kind of law that treats issues on criminality, because theft is also under the penal code. So the truth remains that these extremists hide under this cover. In fact, it gives them that framework, it embodies them to go about the extremism. It is important. In fact, the UX has urged Nigerian delegation led by Nuri Badu, disarm the militia Bring them to justice. It's one of the statements made by a U.S. congressman. But the question is, can we disarm these militias when they move around, they converge, they congregate during wedding, and they hang their guns on their neck as necklace? The guns have become new necklace for them. How do we disarm them and bring them to justice?
Talking about Sharia law, just to make reference to something, because if you speak to core Muslims, they will tell you that certain things that terrorists do in name of professing Islamism do not in any way reflect what Islamism stands for. And about 3 months ago, thereabout, the governor of Niger State issued a directive that for any Muslim cleric to preach in that very state, he must get license, because he was concerned about the kind of preaching that these people dish out to their followers. And according to him, those preaching somehow influences the behavior of the adherents. Now, coming to what you just said now, so would you say that that kind of directive that was given by the governor of Niger State, that is something that we can take a second look at and see whether it can serve a good purpose or not?
I think I have said many times that policy not rooted in legislation fakes over time. That's the governor of Niger State, Bago, making such statement. He may change his mind in the next 1 month over anything. See, any policy that is not rooted in legislation, why do we have these issues of religious this or religious that? If there is any need for that, of course, the state assembly can work on it, bring a legislation, it becomes a law in that very state that this is the way to go. Regulation, trying to regulate religious extremism, but that is not the issue. The issue, just like I have said, in fact, if you look at Dr. Obadere, I think one of the council members for a council for international relations, he was the one urging the US to ensure that we disband both Sharia and Sharia courts as we have. But if you look at these things, is a bonding in these people, and in fact in their own government, because some of these terrorists, they have their own government, they apply that law, and for them that law becomes everything. You find that there is a nexus. See, and it has become a tool for religious persecution. We saw what happened to Deborah, a Christian, but you saw how she was stoned for blasphemy. Was that not persecution? And it was something they activated under the Sharia law. And we saw many of these things that have happened to many Christians. Even when the Supreme Court in its judgment in 2004, when the issue of Sharia was challenged, the Supreme Court says that any state that has or wants to operate such have every right, but on certain conditions. There is fair hearing, that the punishments must not contradict the ones we have in our criminal or penal code systems, but they don't even observe it to that extent. That was Supreme Court interpretation in 2004. But the point I'm saying now, we need a thorough constitutional review, and I've said it many times, poverty, because our constitution does not allow accountability, especially for those in government when they do not do or perform what they are supposed to perform. It's a problem.
There's absolutely no punishment for accountability. But Johnny,
let's
look at the long-term effect or the long-term expectations of this U.S.-Nigerian collaboration. You see, is this something we're going to do one-off? Probably bomb a couple of strongholds of these insurgents, and then they go back and we have the root cause not still addressed. And then we still have these people go back to regrouping kids and teaching them the way of crime.
Why we have many of these kids roaming around the streets, doing babiala. That's the way we call it in this area, Marjorie. Why we have many of them is also part of the Sharia law we are talking about.
So do you see this collaboration being a long-term thing? That's my interest.
I think, for United States of America, they say that what they are doing is not just for humanitarian purpose, it's not just for religious freedom, but it is a broader way of ensuring that vulnerable people, wherever they are protected. So you ask, is it going to be something that will be stretched over time? But they seem determined. I'm talking about United States of America, because they are working on data and documentary. Most times we have denied quite a number of things. Nigeria has denied so many things. So what they're doing now is to present those things with motion pictures, with figures, with data, and say, look at what you're denying. So that's what they're working. Of course, under the directives of President Donald Trump. But we know that the joint group, if you look at their composition, many of them also have questionable characters. Many of them lack integrity to those we have in that very working group. So the US have their own perspective. Nigeria has its own perspective. But we will see how it pans out. But from now on, or from what we've seen so far, we've seen some level of determination. We are not saying that the United States of America is a saint. There are no saints. They are not. When you talk about human rights abuses, when you talk about human rights violation, they have their own share. There's no doubt, but they have laws that sometimes you can bring those things under their laws and challenge them.
Speaking about human rights abuses, Tony, what is the guarantee that there would not be extremism in a bid to root out these persons or these insurgents? What is the guarantee that there won't be excessive force, arbitrary detentions, mistargeted operations? Is there any guarantee that we don't go the way of destruction in a way to rebuild?
All right, there's no guarantee. Let me begin, because I listened to Lucky Rebel where he was saying that Nigeria as a whole has 2 satellites, and why military cannot launch its own satellite, and there are operational challenges and so many things he said. And he said, look at a country like United States of America. Do you know how many satellites they have? Do you know? So many
America
of them.
has 1,500.
That is it. And if you look at so many countries, both Western countries, even those in Africa, South Africa, have you asked yourself why extremism has not got into South Africa? South Africa is one of the developing countries in the world. Why don't they have their own share of extremism? Because the state is totally secular in nature. You have Muslims there, you have Christians there, you have African traditional worshippers there, you've got different, but the state upholds one legal system for everybody. Why can't we uphold one legal system for everybody in this country? That is one question. And if you look at South Africa has over 500 satellites. But here in Nigeria, we have just 2. And these 2 are dysfunctional. And military will tell you the operational challenges they have. But I've looked at their budget over years. Their budget has come so close to that of Kenya, though South Africa has a higher defense budget more than Nigeria. But we have seen our budget in the area of defense measuring up. But what are we doing with those monies we keep pumping? Or those funds, are they not being released? So it's one thing to budget figure. It's another thing to ensure that these figures you've budgeted, there is adequate release.
So we are talking not just release, we're talking accountability here. And that leads me to my next question, Tony. What is the guarantee that we're going to have not just the accountability, but equipment accountability? Is there going to be more frequent auditing of what we have in our armory, what we are bringing in, as against this once in a while we start to tell tales, we can't even account for these arms, we start to hear they were carted away during #EndSARS, they were carted away by this, that.
There is, I have just mentioned, I've just said, issue of accountability is near to zero in this country. Nobody accounts for anything.
So is this partnership going to improve it? That's why I'm asking.
It may not really improve anything. We don't have legislations.
But let me ask.
You don't have legislations.
The partnership we are referencing here, has it started?
It hasn't started, but it's proposed. And with the way America is going, Frank.
Yes, Trump is actually pushing so vigorously for him to win the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize, which he has been eyeing for a long time. So if you see him trying to make peace in different countries of the world, of course you'll not be surprised. Now people will say, "Omali for nappy," because it seems like ever since he made that very statement, government of Nigeria is trying to wake up to some responsibility, in as much as we have not seen the kind of substantial result that we expect. Now, because where I'm focusing on is, if this frenzy, if this heat drops in any way, the fear is that we might go back to ground zero where we have been and continue as if nothing happens. That this whole thing is, now that someone external is trying to wake us up, now how do we on our own take up the fight? And this fight in this very case is no longer about, like we keep on saying, it's no longer about declaring or opening an operation Like now we have Operation Hadenkai somewhere in the north in Borno State. When we had issues in Southeast was Python
Operation
dance and what have
Python
you. That
dance.
it's all about declaring all these very operations. But when you sit down and you develop a strategy that is going to run for years, that's why you keep on. That's why people map a plan. Okay, I think that was yesterday, the second day of the meeting of the Northern Governors, where they had World Bank, and World Bank was telling them about the importance of ensuring that that parents keep tabs on children from the point of birth to their, I think, about their 2,000 days in this very world. So at that point when they are developing, that they should have a close tab on them and ensure that they get the best of things that they need for development, so that these people will not become vulnerable and become tools in the hands of opportunists and these terrorists. For anybody who has lived in the North, let me even share this very experience, because for the 1 year I spent in the North, if you mistakenly keep anything outside and the Amajaris come, you are sure that you won't see it again. You are sure you won't see it again, because they will surely make away with it. Because these are people whose parents have, in the name of religion and culture, given out to whoever they think is a cleric to take care of them. But these clerics do not do that.
They rather make money off them.
What do? They allow them to roam around, go and beg for money and do this and do this. And this
pick up people's stuff and sell and return the proceeds.
This becomes a hatching ground for these terrorists, because somebody who has no shelter and somebody comes to preach about warped, mark my word, warped Islamism, or the bad side of what they think is Islamism. One, he penetrates, because we know that religion is the opium of the masses. He penetrates. Like the same time, this person does not have shelter, does not have food, and you offer food. What do you think is going to happen? I stayed in Gariki, in Jigawa State. From Gariki, I was frequenting Gumel and Ringim, then before Hadeja. I knew the experiences we had there. So the thing is, people like Sanusi Lamido, who has been kicking against this Amajari system, the North should begin to listen to him. And not just the North, the federal government should also devise a policy. Jonathan created the Amajari schools, and some person thought he was encroaching into their culture and religion. When he left the office, he died. Why can't we develop a new policy that can help us in the long run to deal with the breeding ground for this Islamism, for this terrorism and the extremism?
Tony, let me also add to that, and you answer all, then we go on a commercial break. When you were speaking about that, Franklin, it also reminded me of the fact that population explosion is a problem here. When do we start working on the fact that people don't just go having babies? Because this same thing you mentioned is the reason they just go birthing children. Just birth as many as you can. Hand them over to these imams and they will take care of them. And then you go home and you keep birthing babies. It's a case of as long as you can reproduce, you just, filling up the earth without anything to take care of the people you've brought into earth. And I was also going to ask you quickly, Tony, you round off with all of this. With the way this is going, is this going to make Nigeria indirectly dependent? More like birthing neocolonialism, knowing fully well what we are capable as a people in terms of administration and maintenance.
I think if you look at it from different angles, you understand that there's one thing we need to do as a country. We thought about Jonathan's Amajari system trying to abolish it, and the responses, and then at the same time the defense, and then some bulwarks that came as a result of that. It was actually very disappointing. But if Jonathan had convened something like a meeting on this and push a legislation in United States of America, do you know how many legislations they have? Every policy is rooted in legislation, not rooted in works, in action, in mouth.
Or what looks like charity.
If government of United States of America wants to run a charity program, it must be rooted in legislation. That's why you have Obamacare. All these things are rooted in legislation. In Nigeria, we have government that tries or begins something that is not rooted in legislation, and it will fade off. That is why when Jonathan started what he started, if he had rooted that in legislation, it becomes a part of a law. So any government who fails to do that can be challenged in court. Why are you not following what is written, coded? It is a statute. But It's a problem here, and that is why in their own they have their Congress, the Senate, and then the Congress is a full-time job. But in our own here, that is why many Nigerians have said that our National Assembly should be a part-time job. Reason, we don't root some of our policies in legislation. The idea of rooting them into legislation is because they can be challenged. You can't go to a court based on any law made by National Assembly, why it is not done, why it's not implemented, what is going. See, but that is the way it should be. The majority system, of course, when I say the religion, not just Islamic religion, even Christian religion, we have extremist Christians. No doubt, we have them here, but we may have them in fewer numbers compared to what we have in the north. The truth remains, like if you look at Islamic religion, it does not teach that you can reproduce the earth. No. Of course, it says those who are wealthy or those who can take care of 4 wives. I think that's much I know about that. Can at the same time, it does not mean that if you are poor, you can manage 1 wife, you go and start marrying 10 wives. But they abuse some of these injunctions, and there is no regulation. In fact, the commission that is due to regulate them is more concerned about an amputation and then stoning and some of the things that could have ordinarily been handled under our criminal jurisprudence. So it is a problem. Just like Franklin said, if US hands off, if we do not do what we are supposed to do, we'll be worse off. What US has begun is good, but definitely it will not last for a very long time. Once they hands off, most countries that have started something with and then pulled out, they went worse. So it is within our own to see the need to do something and sustain whatever they have started, but because they will leave very soon, it's not going to be everlasting, and when they leave, what becomes of us?
All right, thank you, Tony. We need to quickly attend to some commercials. When we come back, there are some other matters on our desk this morning. We're going to be taking a look at what's happening with the PDP. Do stay.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic. When the city sleeps, the river remembers. When the drums call, Onitsha awakens. This December, the call grows louder as Udala Radio joins forces with the Golibe Festival 2025. From December 26th to New Year's Day, the heartbeat of the East comes alive. Music, laughter, art, culture, and the unstoppable joy of homecoming. This year promises more energy, more color, more connection. A festival for every proud son and daughter of Igbo land. Stay tuned to Udala Radio, your front row seat to the celebration that never fades. Golibe Festival 2025. Exclusive media support by Udala Radio. It's not just a festival, it's who we are. Your investment is just one drop. On its own, it can only do so much. Now, imagine 1 million more drops. This is the power of First Asset Money Market Fund and First Asset Dollar Fund. They pool your money with others to create a powerful flow, giving you access to great earning opportunities. Call 0201-889-4444 now to start with 5,000 Naira, $100 or more. Let us build wealth together. The First Asset Money Market Fund and First Asset Dollar Fund are registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission Nigeria. Please read the prospectus and where in doubt, consult your investment advisor, stockbroker, fund or portfolio manager, accountant, banker, solicitor, or any other professional advisor for guidance before subscribing.
Merry Christmas from all of us.
Udala Radio
104.7.
Now hear the Christmas Day sweet past. Let's go. Bells they ring for the street tonight. Children they dance on the Christmas light. Mama they cook jollof, aroma they rise. Yeah. For they smile, joyfully miles. No no they for body love they warm. Afro be breathing happiness long come. Oh. From Onitsha city to every home. Now celebrity China food is on. It's a Udala Christmas, oh, oh. Everybody gather, make we jolly. It's a Udala Christmas, oh, oh. Turn up the music, make it go. Udala. Christmas the sweet for Udala radio. Udala. Your number one vibes everywhere you go. Light up the tree, let it shine. Let it shine. Love for the season, make we share. Make we bind. From morning to night. Udala, hold you tight. Now Christmas magic, pure delight. Udala, Udala. Christmas the sweet, oh. Udala, Udala. Feel the beat, oh. From all of us at Udala Radio.
Merry Christmas, ya wetalani angole no biuto. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from all of us at Udala Radio 104.7 FM, the voice of the region.
Mana dịka nwa afọ Naija nwoke maọbụ nwaanyị ebe ugbu a ị kwesịrị ime onye na-akpọ gị n'ekwentị. Ohere na-abịa so naanị otu ugboro, mana nke bụ ezigbo ajụjụ dị na ya bụ ị ga-adịkwa na njikere. Ekwekwala ka ohere ọzọ ganarị. Lee anya otu kọlụ ziri ezi nwere ike ịgbanwe ndụ gị. Tinye Truecaller app n'ekwentị gị tata, mara onye na-akpọ gị, hụ na ịtụfughị ohere ịnweta otu kọlụ ahụ nwere ike ịgbanwe ihe niile. Truecaller, za ezigbo oku.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread. For your family breakfast, Wendy's bread. Opa chicken de dosialo, Wendy's bread. Mama papa they like Wendy's bread. Chicken and duo, Wendy's bread. Even children they like Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread. Wendy's bread. Get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread. Wendy's your bachichoma. Wendy's bread.
Wendy's bread, tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tandy Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Onitsha get ready, all roads don't lead to Godwin Achebe Stadium Fege because everything done set for the biggest, toughest and most rugged street football championship where Onitsha don't ever see. Egwekere Street Championship 2025, brought to you by Winners Global Estate Limited in partnership with Famous Sports and Events Concept. Them they invite you, make you not miss the grand finale of this maiden event where don't scatter everywhere with vibes. Oh, date Monday 8th December 2025. Venue Godwin Achebe Stadium Fege Onitsha. Third place showdown 12 p.m. sharp. Osala Awada go lock horns with Port Harcourt Road Fege. No door yourself, oh, na bragging rights stay on the line. The grand finale 3 p.m. Two giants, two warriors, two street legends. Anago Echetabu Avenue, Mwapu versus East Niger Okoko. Them go battle for who will carry the crown as the first ever Egwekere Street champions. My people, this one no be normal match. This na street football. We get blood, sweat, ginger, gra and culture. Come witness history and see the happen. Come feel the vibes, the rivalry, the bragging rights, the street energy. Ego joke, ego heart, ego bust mind. And remember, your own Udala Radio Onitsha go day ground as the media partner, giving you the coverage, the noise, the vibes. Proudly sponsored by Winners Global Estate Limited. Make you show face, make you show support, make you witness football with sweet past fine stew. Onitsha, let's go!
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
before we move over to taking a look at what's happening within the People's Democratic Party, Dr. Tony Olisambeki, I'd like us to take a look at General Christopher Musa now being nominated Defense Minister. What do you make of this development, especially after the previous one resigned on grounds of ill health? Do you think this is because the president has so much faith in Christopher Musa's person? And do you see any new changes? Do you see what we need coming from him?
I think we need so much. Mr. President has reposed trust on him. So it's expected that he will give in more. One thing people should understand about a minister and also a CDX. One, a minister also advises the president and advises the cabinet. But CDX mostly advises the president. So in this case, people have asked question: can the president take his advice when he gives one, many, or what have you? Yes, people have said he may not bring anything. It's going to be the same story and so many things. But I can't tell you, because yesterday when we looked at this, yesterday I did say that he is out to replace Badaro. And we left it on the realm of speculation. I think when Frank asked that question, do you see him replacing him? I said, I do. In fact, I said he's going to, but we never had any confirmation as at that time. But before you know it, my speculation was right. So I did say something yesterday, how he revitalized Operation Hardin Kadi, where he oversaw significant advancement in the Northeast counter-insurgency campaign against Boko Haram and ISWAP, including the liberation of about 1,500 hostages and reclamation of strategic territories in Borno, Yobe State in 2024, leading to a marked reduction in insurgent attacks under his watch as Chief of Defense Staff. It happened in 2004. 2024, over 1,500 hostages were freed, and we saw mass surrenders of terrorists. He implemented a groundbreaking de-radicalization program that facilitated the voluntary surrender of over 2,000 insurgents, their accomplices, and informants in 2024. In fact, this non-kinetic approach contributed to a larger wave where over 160,000 terrorists and their families surrendered, as publicly commended by Borno State Governor Babagana Zulu under his watch as CDS. In fact, we saw under his watch as CDS the rescue of Chibok school girls and other hostages, where he led operations that resulted in successful rescue of 330 Chibok school girls, along with numerous women and children from Boko Haram captivity in the Sambisa forest, marking a major milestone in the fight against insurgency. These were some of his achievements as Chief of Defense Staff. In fact, he introduced modernization in military operations, and he also advanced technological integration. He championed that adoption of AI-driven predictive analytics for anticipating insurgent movements, positioning Nigerian military as a leader in Africa defense innovation. He also prioritized asset modernization. We saw promotion of joint force synergy and interagency coordination, and we also saw enhancement of civil-military relations. But in all of this, he did those things as Chief of Defense Staff. He received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Nigerian Service Awards in November. That was in 2023. For his leadership in security operations. So Musa
can I put in?
Okay, please go on.
Okay, yesterday I asked this very question, which I'm going to repeat now. Apart from what we just read now, Bayon Anuga, who issued a statement, also spoke glowingly about what Musa has achieved, or what he achieved as a Chief of Defense Staff, and what he achieved as a military person. But like I asked you yesterday, it was the same Musa who was relieved of his appointment, and these achievements were there before the appointment was relieved by the same President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That was about 2 months ago or thereabout. And now he has moved from being the one giving a direct order to subordinate to become a minister in the cabinet of Mr. President, where he's going to advise the president on security strategy. Now, what I'm trying to find out is, how is it going to work now that he's not the one giving direct order to subordinate to undertake certain operations? Rather, he's going to advise this president on what to do. And secondly, what is guarantee that he can get that free hand needed to deal with issues of sabotage and conspiracy, connivance, which is very, very common in the security structure? 2 days ago, I talked about a report which was put out by Fisher Oshombo when he carried out an investigative report on oil bunkering. I don't need anybody who, if you take your time to read that very report, you will see how we have many people in the security structure compromise. You see that there are many of them who are collaborators in whatever we are suffering now. So can he get that very freedom to be able to do things? Because in Nigeria, we have this culture of ebogin mele, whereby somebody has told you to go ahead and deal with this, but somebody who is connected to the person who has given you a job gets involved in a mess, and he places a call to say, please retreat and stop pedal.
I think you asked a very pertinent question, there's no doubt. Because he said if he had achieved all those things, I was actually noting, why did Mr. President relieve him of his appointment? And I said yesterday, it was political. For obvious political reasons. So, and then if you ask the presidency, they will tell you it's a routine security leadership shakeup. That's what they will tell you. And it happened when there was this issue of kill or not kill. There was a time there was a rumor that circulated about a case of an aborted kill around that time of the reshuffle. But, they were dismissed as falsehood by the presidency and Nigerian army. But in all of this, let's look at the bigger picture. The role of CDS and the role of minister, they are not the same. Yes, you were on point when you say that the CDX is the one in charge of execution. Yes, the CDX, the Chief of Defense Staff, deals with execution of whatever plan, policy he sees, oversees training, tactical issues, and many other things. That's for the CDX. He's a professional. That's for CDX, and also a military executor. But the minister holds the ultimate administrative authority. Apart from the fact, because the minister sees to issue of policy, budget, administration, and oversight. Essentially, the CDX reports to the minister unless the president wants to hear from them direct. And even when Mr. President is hearing from them directly, the minister is always behind. Every time there is any form of security meeting or the president summons the chief of army staff, the chief of naval staff, and chief of defense staff, the minister is always in that meeting. And when there is no such meeting, the chief of defense staff report anything to Mr. President to the minister. Now, it's the minister that advises Mr. President based on the reports and based on the advice made by Chief of Defense Staff. So we understand that these two roles, they complement each other. And Musa must be a politician too. You know why? Before now, many presidents do not like appointing a thorough professional, a technocrat in those roles because of the political aspect of the whole thing. Where the opposition may like to politicize insecurity, try to make away with certain things. The minister, who is also a politician, comes in and block those spaces. But Musa, whether he likes it or not, when many Nigerians will beg him not to be a politician, but he would also learn the practice. Yes, because we understand the complicity of some of these things. Just like I said earlier on, both roles overlap, as in complement each other rather. But we will see more of policy formation. If you have a good policy and have a good executor, you're on the winning side.
Execution is a problem.
And I expect Musa to come up with a number of policies on how to tackle insurgency. And these policies, if there are ones that need legislation, we must find ways to
legislate on them.
And we're talking about negotiation. He may come up with a policy that at no time should any government in the country negotiate with these people.
Isn't that what we have always said, but we do not stand by?
We don't root it in legislation. That's why you have some people doing it, believing that it is nothing.
But Tony, real quick, because we're almost totally out of time, the ones that we have in legislation, have we really stood by them?
If you ask the ones we have under our legislation, how many legislation do we have in this country?
I mean, generically, looking at how good we are as a people with implementation and standing by laws that we make.
I think we don't have much laws here. Someone will say we do. But then if you have this consideration as what we have in the United States of America, because all their policies are legislation, almost all. Those that are not, you will see executive order by the president giving it some level of legislation, even when it is not from the Congress. So you see executive order. And some executive orders, sometimes when they have challenges, they find a way of converting into a full-time legislation. It's not by mere mouth. If you look at immigration policies of Trump, they are all, because he knows that if they take it to the Congress, he may have some challenges. He gives them executive order. How many executive orders has President Tinubu signed in this anti-insurgency campaign? How many? Do you know one? I don't think anybody can remember one. You can't be fighting such kind of war without having certain commands rooted in executive order, certain things rooted in legislation. Musa will fill in those gaps. I don't know if he's listening.
Hopefully.
He will fill in those gaps. Why United States of America wins a lot of wars, achieve whatever they want to achieve, they come up with a good plan, good policy, good strategy, and they look at a good executor. One is to come up with those things. Then the next is executor. And we have Olufemi Oloyede, who is the chief executor. And interestingly, Olufemi worked under Musa. So we expect that synergy.
Let me also bring in this very one quickly. Okay. There is this very feeling in some quarters that, appointing somebody who is a northerner from Kaduna to run this, that if he shares a northern sentiment, now if what happened to others? But that's what happened. Whereby when it comes to that point of let's go and crush, brothers will begin to make calls, and there may be a stop that we know what happened to us.
Of course, we know. The truth remains, Mr. President, give the military free hand. Give the military free hand to deal with this insurgency, and let policies that we expect to come from Musa be rooted in legislation, be rooted in executive order. Because once there is executive order, once there is a legislation, everybody knows that it's serious. Most of these, the operation, hiding carry operation, this operation, that. Some of these operations, we can legislate these operations, bring legal frameworks to these operations, and also hold them to account. Because the idea of legislation is holding people who are into that or who are involved to account. I said here, accountability is near to zero in this country. Nobody accounts for anything. Everything goes the way it is, and there is impunity. People do things and believe they can't, nothing will happen to them, and the judiciary on their own looks so laid back. A lot of things go on, but we can begin to start doing something. US has started reawakening that consciousness. They will not be here forever. They will do this. They will sustain this intensity a year or 2 years. So when they go, what happens to us? What we do now will sustain some of the things, and we have outlined a number of root causes to some of these problems we are having. Can't we be like South Africa? Is it a bad thing to be like South Africa? Is it a bad thing to be like Egypt?
All right, Tony. Unfortunately, it is what it is. We already know what is good and what is bad. It is a will to do what is good now that we are now begging God and Allah for. Tony, let's quickly speak to what is happening within the PDP. The certificate of expulsion. What do you make of it?
We, of course, with PDP, just like I always said, they are chogma. And the camps or the factions are trying to show what we call in local parlance manpower. Remember, yesterday there was a composition of Southeast leadership of the PDP, the Wike faction. We saw the names they bandied or the nominations they made, and they have raised a caretaker committee of PDP for Southeast. And the same yesterday we saw where certificate of expulsion was given to Fayoshe and Wike and Co. and so many of them. So look at what happened in Osun State. That was a primary, and we knew before time, 24 hours of the primary, Adeleke resigned from PDP. In fact, when he even resigned, his name was still on the ballot. We know very well Adeleke is not in the country for some reasons, and we were told that he has moved to Accord, but he has not officially moved to Accord. He could have somebody as a placeholder in PDP if I were in his shoes or probably in his camp. He may not be on the ballot for the primaries, but somebody could do that, and the person becomes a placeholder for him.
And then relinquish to him
of
later.
Of course, that's what is done. Where he shop for a sustainable party. We are told that he's also engaging with ABGA. He's talking with ABGA, he's talking with Accord Party. But reports have it that he's likely going to go into Accord.
Most likely, what has better structure in his state?
But the truth remains that he wouldn't want to find himself at a crossroad where the leadership crisis will consume his ticket. INEC recognizes the old leadership of PDP. Damagun leadership, that's what is. You go to INEC website.
But he has handed over.
But he has handed over. But INEC has not recognized those he handed over to. That's the issue. Now, who is going to sign his nomination form? Because the nomination form must be signed by the chairman and the secretary of that political party. So, who will sign it for Adeleke? That's the crossroad he has found himself. So, should the nomination form of Adebayo, who won the ticket, signed by the other faction, Turaki faction, possibly as a place where they can meet him? PDP has structure. His fear is who will sign his nomination form acceptable by INEC. That's just the fear. That's why he's running from pillar to post. But the key thing is, these people are doing showman power. That's what they're doing. And that's why I see it. So until he comes back, I don't know if he's back in the country, but until he comes back, the key thing is he should sort out some of these gray areas. These gray areas should not be allowed to wallow.
All right, then. We take a break now, attend to some commercials. Once we come back, we open up the phone lines. Keep it locked. Still the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
Ụbọchị dum jupụtara n'ọtụtụ ihe omume mana ego gị nọ nkịtị ebe ọ dị. Ọ bụrụkwanụ na nrụsi ọrụ ike dịka ị na-eme kwụsịlata n'oge a mee ka ego gị rọrụ gị ọrụ sonye na amụma First Asset Money Market Fund na First Asset Dollar Fund ma nweghachita ihe dị mma jiri naanị $500 $100 wee malite ngwakpọ akara 0806-494-5838 ka ịmalite ịmụba ego gị ka anyị gbakọ akụrụba anyị ọnụ edebanyere aha First Asset Money Market Fund na First Asset Dollar Fund n'akwụkwọ ụlọ ọrụ Securities and Exchange Commission Nigeria biko gba akwụkwọ mgbazoluso ya ma ebe ọbụla ị na-enwe obi abụọ kpọtụrụ onye investment advisor, stockbroker, fund maọbụ portfolio manager, accountant, banker, solicitor maọbụ onye ọzọ ma ihe a na-akọ ka o duzie gị tupu ịmalite.
Golden Promise Fiesta 1.0 2025. Be there at the biggest fiesta of the year. Join us live at Sonia Hotel, Sawite, 153B Eziweka Road, Awadobusi, Onitsha on 20th December 2025 by 5 p.m. till dawn. It'll be a night of unforgettable entertainment, comedy, dance, and thrilling musical performances from Annie Dons, Professor Chikobi, One-on-One Women Leader, Twin Parrots, Evangelist Emeka Abuchi-Obusi, MC Elegant Face, MC Prince, and many more. Tickets are available now. Regular 2,000, VIP 10,000, VVIP table of 5 persons 500,000 naira. Get yours at number 1 Ngozi Obago Plaza, 20 Enugu Road, Onitsha, 97 Bida Road, Onitsha, number 1 Pampam Lane Suite, P25 second floor. floor, Merituo Plaza, Main Market, Onitsha. Office 13, All Saints Shopping Complex, 28 Louis Mbanefo Street, off 6th Avenue, Onitsha. Before they sell out, contact us on the following numbers: 0814-394-2802, 0808-441-5156, 0814-350-1022, or 0916-384-3623. Golden Promise Fiesta 2025, proudly powered by Golden Promise Entertainment. Don't just hear about it, be there.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Join the conversation now. Put a call across to 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. You have 2 minutes. Go straight to the point. Turn down the volume on your radio set, and please be as objective as possible. Hello, good morning. Turn on the volume on your radio set. Are you there? Try to reconnect. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. We're also live on Facebook at Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Good morning. Are you there? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Well, the most important thing is for the...
What's your name? Where are you calling us from?
Like Musa has been in the field. He knows he knows how whom to put there as a defense, as the CDS, and coordinate well. So America is not going to do everything for us. They are not going to marry a wife for us and give us mad.
What is your name,
they will
please?
just come and hit the bandits. When they hit them, when they scatter them, we have our own internal arrangements to make. So there's nothing wrong. Musa will bring a lot of things.
You didn't tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
He's a Christian. He's from the southern area, so he says a lot.
Hello there.
Hello.
What is your name?
My name is Franklin.
Calling from?
Franklin.
Where are you calling from?
Oh.
Dalo Franklin. Thank you for your contribution. He's what did you say?
Add junior to that.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
This is Akamara.
Let us hear you, Akamere. Turn down the volume on your radio set.
All right. I've done that.
Go ahead, please.
I so much thank God for what the U.S. legislature have told delegates. Because I know that the tax they gave to them is a serious tax, which I know that they can never do it. Disband the terrorists. That means collect those arms from them and persecute them. I know that they can never do that. Nigerian government can never do that because they can't fight. Check how many years this terrorism has lasted in the country. You know that they are just playing with these people. Because I know that if they want to fight this insurgency, they can fight it. But because they knew that they are getting, there's something they are getting. That's why they just want to play it with the keyboard. But let's just watch, because the condition they gave to them, they will not do it. So we'll know after they waited and see whether they collected those arms from these terrorists. If they didn't do it, then we'll know next action. What I want to ask, Mr. Speaker, please tell me, if they didn't fulfill this condition that they gave to them, what would they do? Thank you.
All right then. Thank you for your contribution. Good morning. Are you there? Hello? Hello.
Good morning, everyone in the studio.
Good morning.
I am Gredim Asia Pakego, streaming the airwaves from Osmo.
Go ahead, please.
Nigeria and her insurgency, insecurity, and somebody is hoping Nigeria can do anything. By my own assessment, there is nothing Nigeria can do, no matter the number of reshufflements and whatever. Nigeria cannot achieve anything towards insecurity. Security being restored in this country because the military has been politicized. Corruption has found itself in Nigeria's military. How then can you, one of you there in the studio, ask a question? Very pertinent. With these things happening, religion being at the hem of affairs, being talked about ethnicity, how can Nigeria solve her insecurity when all these things are playing a key role? Nigeria's military has been politicized negatively and to the detriment of the masses. Nigeria has solved that insurgency. It has been rooted, well grounded, to the extent that there is nothing. Don't hope on Nigeria making an impact.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so you have given up hope entirely. Sad. Good morning.
Thank you, System. Good morning.
Good morning.
Marigato Franklin, I'm Mr. Speaker Tony Beck.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
This is Monday. Just I'm calling in from Onitsha.
Let's hear you Monday.
Mr. Speaker, please. I want to ask about two questions. Number one, the appointment of Christopher. I want to ask, can he work in synergy with Mata Wale, the Minister for State, what do you call it? Minister of Defense, I think for State or whatever. Please, can he work in synergy, in agreement with Mata Wale? That is number one. Number two, of course, we know that whatever policy or administrative directives that come, that those administrative directives and policies cannot come to public notice without execution, without operation. Now, you have told us, and we know, that the CDS is in charge of execution and operation. Then another question is, can you make your predictions or your analysis on the testing of CDS, and can he also work in agreement with the defense minister? Please, we want to know.
All right then. Good morning. Tony, would you want to answer those before we proceed? Okay then. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. We're also live on Facebook. The handle is Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You can drop your comment right under the live video. Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Chisom. Good morning, Tony and Betty. Good morning, Franklin. Good morning.
Good
You're
morning.
welcome.
Go ahead, please.
Let me speak on the issue of DDP. I think that for me, I think that Wike is losing the ground. Today I was watching when the former CDP national chairman was making a speech, and he told them that the PDP cannot die, and he was formally handed over to the new PDP chairman, and they bring out the certificate of expulsion, writing all the names there. And I don't know how INEC is going to do it. Is INEC going to organize the weakest faction that they have rejected before? Because they have already rejected them. Are they going to come back and accept them instead of accepting the convention that everybody witnessed? So it's a very different challenge for me. Them coming the task is to select the leaders. Which leaders? Where are they believing? Where are they going to? Even those people that have been selected are being economically with the truth because they know that they cannot do anything. As it counts down, even though the presidents are supporting whatever we can do and the way we want it, but this time around, for me, it's game over for Wike. It's game over for Wike. Because I don't know how he's going to resurrect it. It's very impossible. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. Good morning. Can you hear us?
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Udala FM.
Good morning. We can hear you. What is your name? Where are you calling
I don't know
us from?
whether if you people can hear me.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Can
Hello.
you... I guess the fault
Go
is from
on.
your end.
Please go on. We can hear you. Are you there?
Focus from his end. Everything here is technically sound. Hello, good morning.
Yeah. Comrade Owauchena, I'm calling you from Onitsha.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Let me react on the EGP crisis, and the failure of INEC to recognize the new executive produced at the recently concluded National Convention in Ibadan. This is what we have been saying here. We need a strong institution in this country. INEC is never independent. That's just the truth about it. For failing to recognize the new executive, INEC is never independent. And this is why we have been calling for strong legislation, on how the leadership of INEC will emerge.
But INEC did not monitor that process, if you recall.
Whether they monitor the process or not, it is inconsequential. They are not the court. It is only the court that will pronounce that convention legal or illegal. Yes, INEC still recognize Damagun-led executive. And the Damagun-led executive has handed over to the new executive. What is stopping INEC from recognizing that Damagun-led, the people that Damagun handed over?
The Cherokee faction.
The Cherokee faction. Somebody said, yes, you recognize me as the chairman and the executive. Now I am handing over to the new executive. Then what stops you from recognizing those people? Or must you force them? Is the leadership by force? That is what I should ask the INEC. Is leadership by force? Why not recognize the new leadership first? Then allow court to either nullify or validate it. You see, Bola Tinubu is only concerned about the re-election. From the first day he was sworn into office, from the first day he announced Prince Subsidy is gone, the next thing on his agenda is how to win 2027 election.
Okay.
Bearing in mind that his election, his declaration was surrounded in controversy. That was what he is doing.
All right.
Using Wike to do the dirty job. In fact, it is unacceptable. It is also unfortunate. So I would blame INEC directly for failure to recognize the Turaki-led executive of PPP. Pending when court says otherwise. For them to decline to recognize these people goes to show that Bola Ahmed Tinubu want to twist every institution in this country to work in his personal interest ahead of 2027.
Your point has been noted and your time is up. Thank you for your contribution.
Hold on. If we have time, Tony, I think if we have time, what we're going to look at is the legitimacy of the convention that produced executive. We will be able to look back and see if the
presence of INEC or not?
No, not the presence of INEC. That one is immaterial. If the convention itself was legitimate, so if it was legitimate, that means the outcome could be. But if it is not, the outcome. But let's take some call before.
Okay. Good morning. Sorry, you would need to reconnect. We have just about 4 more minutes. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Udala FM.
You're welcome.
Morning, Tony Olisambek.
You're welcome.
Morning, the entire crew of Udala FM. Happy to come on board again. Mazio Jugwane on the line.
Go ahead,
God bless
please.
also. Well, Mr. Speaker, Tony Olisambeki, with regards to the previous analysis and as the current affairs of the paper says about insecurity in Nigeria. Well, Mr. Speaker, I would like this honorable platform to look into this insecurity matter this year. Look, we are playing pranks, with security in Nigeria. Why not us regionalize? With reason. Immediately we regionalize, you see that there is no insecurity in Nigeria. The reason why we are having all this insecurity is because some people are benefiting from it. Let me revise your mind back. Some few years back, Said Abubakar, the Sultan of Sokoto, that he will not support or live to witness the balkanization of Nigeria. And he gave his reason. He said he has 21 oil wells in Niger Delta. But incidentally, the gold and uranium in the north is being mined by unknown people hired by the northerners. They said about 2,000 Chinese people, illegal miners. So what I'm trying to say is that I'm seeing it from Igbo man point of view, that in as much as we have in common, we cannot manage it very well. They are accusing us, we are accusing them. Thereby, what we do is that we regionalize, so that if we will be having problem, it cannot be entire Nigeria.
By regionalization, are you subtly calling for a breakup of Nigeria?
Well, it is from a particular sect or belief or religion. But if we would have regionalized, if they have that kind of problem, we can help them. Other regions will come to help.
Okay.
But look at our present condition. We are all helpless. Who will now help us? Imagine America and international community coming. When we know the true bandits, Boko Haram, sponsored by Bata. So please, my speaker, let me stop so that others can contribute. God
Absolutely. One more call and we head over to Facebook. Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Kisom.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ebuka.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Tony Olisambeki.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
There will be kept from Obusa. Proceed, no time. Yeah, I'm very happy today for the U.S. lawmakers say they have seen and hear that truly that Christians have been killed in this country called Nigeria. You know, in life, when you start with life, you must surely end up with life. Day one, I remember what most of callers, people are saying in this country, that since Trump dropped that statement, that insecurity is so much, that kidnapping is so much, that killing is so much. Because of the statement of Trump, today, God has vindicated Trump himself. Because they are looking, watching. They can't deceive them. They know everything. But there is something Dr. Torres said, which is very true. See, if these people came in, they fight for us, they do all this thing for so many years and they let us go. What will happen? We see, you see our military here, I was military personnel yesterday. They told me, see, you see the problem we have in this country is obey the last order. He said that most of them today, they have dropped as a military officer. Got away. Tell me, how can somebody who be inside that Sambisa forest, they fight? If you get these demon blood-sucking people as a terrorist or Boko Haram, you will get their cell phone, they go here. They never kill that person. Get him alive. Somebody AK-49, AK-47, what do you think? It's not possible. It's not possible at all. There's some man that I respect so much. That's like that's what the man did one strike.
Okay, I have to let you go. Your time is entirely up. I apologize. Let's head over to Facebook, frankly.
Okay, so we have some posts on our Facebook page here. Master AJP says the silent rate of killings in Nigeria, particularly the Benue State, Plateau, and Ebonyi State, is alarming. Let our up and coming Nigerian generation develop one Nigerian ideology, stop killing each other for earthly wealth, and Nigerian government should take homicide offense or capital offense seriously. Then God's will, Okoye says about the insecurities in Nigeria, if there is no help by the international communities, I don't see the insecurity ending soon. The fact is that some top politicians in the north are busy sponsoring bandits instead of fighting them, and they choose negotiation over eliminating them. And politics has entered the Nigerian force. Even the Nigerian army are not spared too. Then Ika Gota is watching from Aka. Thank you, Ika Gota, for joining us. Oba Anthony Kem says, for former CDS Musa, I know he would do well with more ideas and the more, and okay, as Okay, with more ideas, as former military officer and now a politician, I wish him all the best. And for PDP problems, more problems are looming. Then, Rotratu Biagwikechku Christopher from College of Education in Suba, he says major reasons insecurity thriving in northern Nigeria is as a result of weak and irrelevant constitution, less value for human lives, and to a greater extent religious extremism and neglect of duties from the northern leaders. The leaders in the north pamper terrorists and bandits. A closer study will reveal their involvement and sponsoring of the bandits. Also, Francis Namani from Amagunze in Enugu State says, Mr. President should, as a matter of urgency, seek for foreign assistance to tackle the ravaging insecurity and menace in the country. A stitch in time saves nine. Maybe now a stitch in time might save 10 for Nigeria. Then Dr. Misimo Lebra from Ore says, we have all it takes to develop this country, but it is held ransom by some greedy and selfish people. Good leadership is a luxury in Nigeria. We live a life of lies and deceit. That is Nigeria for us, a country where extravagance and looting have become fashionable among public holders, a country where evil has become allowed to bestride and ravage our polity unchallenged. The power masses are always at the receiving end all the time. When it comes to belt tightening, it is for them. Austerity measure is for them. When it comes to sacrifice, all for the masses. Who led us here? That's the question she left for us. Then Younger Onwa says, okay, he's watching from Benue State. Obasineke Alek Chimeze says, I want to bring to a notice that the Anambra State Atma are on it again, extracting money from the road transporters going to parks to arrest vehicles, claiming those places are not parks. And after that, demanding 50,000 naira from each vehicle.
What park exactly are we talking about?
But the governor said any obstruction offense is 10,000 naira. And according to him, about 50 vehicles were arrested yesterday, or rather impounded yesterday in Onitsha, claiming that people who came were claiming that they were on a special duty. Then Taiwan Boniface AGK from Omuawolo, thank you for watching. And then Odili Aloysius is asking Dr. Tony if the court gives an order for convention and INEC refuses to monitor the convention, can the convention stand before the law? And Mazi Wuriechi Kwadoromsinachi says the reappointment of Mr. Musa is just to fill the gap, because personally I don't see any positive impact that he will bring concerning the insecurity ravaging the country. Okay, so he can see the studio. Thank you for watching. He's watching from Udala, Onitsha, and these are the comments we have on our Facebook page.
All right, Tony, respond to some of the questions that have been asked. Someone was asking you if Musa can work with Matawale and all stuff like that.
I think if you can remember some of these questions, you can bring them. And then why wouldn't Musa work with Matawale? Matawale, former governor, and Musa is now on top. He's now his boss. So I don't know how Matawale would feel that somebody I was before now his boss has suddenly overtaken me as a boss. Because when Musa was chief of defense staff, Metawele somehow is his boss because he is the Minister of State for Defense. Now, Musa is now the substantive minister. So Metawele will be taking instructions from him. Before now, Musa takes instructions from Metawele. Now Metawele has to take instructions from him as a substantive minister. Can both of them work well? I see some level of frictions. That's why many people are calling on Mr. President to relieve Metawele. Because somehow somebody you used to take instruction from is now taking instructions from you. So you know how that thing is. Unless both of them will play mature cards and complement each other. But the truth remains that Metawale would not feel so good about it. And not feeling so good about it could also be a way of undermining whatever efforts we will bring to the table. So the need for Mr. President to relieve Metawale of his appointment. I don't know if there's any other question.
No, somebody asked a question. I also raised that the issue of the legitimacy of the convention. Okay. Somebody said if the court gives an order for the convention to go ahead and INEC refuses to monitor, can the convention stand? But if we're going to go back to time, we see that we had about 3 different court orders, and these court orders came from court or coordinate jurisdiction. So in that such case, what stands? What is legality and what is illegality?
And I've said many times when this issue came up, courts do not have jurisdiction, especially when it comes to issue of leadership of a political party, membership of a political party and nominations by political parties. These are generally three things Supreme Court has said that courts do not have jurisdiction: leadership, membership, and at the same time nominations by these political parties.
And what about convention?
Convention is elective convention, is leadership. Okay. A kind of congress where they now elect their leaders. So Supreme Court has said you don't have jurisdiction.
So does it mean that it counters whatever court's rulings we are standing? The one that said do not hold the convention, the one that said hold the convention.
I think the courts do not have power to stop convention to start with. But I think look at the one I may reason to be a little bit valid when Lamido was delisted, or he was not part of those who were to. The court said suspend the convention and include him. I think where the court may lack some level of jurisdiction, where he says suspend, no, what the court would have ordered, include him in that convention. And where they go on to have the convention without his inclusion, the court may now nullify the outcome based on the fact that he did not do what the court has asked him to do.
So since all the court that intruded into the PDP matter didn't have any local standing to have done what they did, so what they did was just a mere academic exercise.
It was a mere academic exercise, but it must be pronounced by the appeal court. If appeal court pronounce all these, they are meandering as just meddlesome interlopers, it means that it's just academic exercise.
So until then, Turaki's faction and leadership?
No. But INEC supposed to recognize Turaki faction because you recognize the Magun. And having recognized the Magun, and the Magun now comes back to say, we have handed over to Turaki. You're supposed to recognize Turaki until any court tells you not to do so.
Okay.
But no court has told INEC whether to do or not do. What the courts were doing was don't hold convention. But I said courts do not have powers to stop a political party from holding convention.
All right.
As Supreme Court maintained in their rulings over time.
All right. Thank you for your wonderful analysis today,
Thank
Tony.
you so much.
Thank you for your calls and your contribution. Franklin, what would be your last words?
Okay, once I leave here, I'll try to put a call across to those people who whose certificate of expulsion were mailed to them. Let's know whether they have received it or not, because that's the funniest thing I've heard this very week.
And I've actually been wondering how much it cost them to produce a certificate of expulsion. How much has been signed for that? Well, from my end, it would be always encouraging you to do your bit to be, as a Nigerian, of course, to get the Nigeria that we all desire. And don't go, poking unnecessary holes when people try to do things that would benefit all of us.